Hello again, welcome to video 2 for 9-2. So you got some notes in front of you, and these notes, I'm going to put up my screen again here and talk you through them. There's not a lot of writing on this page, but I want you to see an example. What we did in the previous video is we found out how to find the axis of symmetry and the vertex mathematically, which you're going to have to be able to do. Here's kind of the reminder. Use x equals negative b over 2 to find the axis of symmetry, and then find the value of the y vertex, or the y, and then you'll have the vertex there. So here's kind of a beginning guide. If you were going to create a graph, which is what we're going to do with that information, if you're going to create this graph, y equals 2x squared minus 4x plus 1, the first thing you have to do is find the vertex. So this is what we did in the last video. We found the axis of symmetry using negative b over 2a, and this one works out to be x is equal to 1. And then you take that and you solve that for y, which they did right here, and they come out to find the vertex is 1, negative 1. Okay, you got to do the math piece to that. And then for part 3, then you always start with that axis of symmetry, okay, which you see on the graph over there, and then you couple points in the chart like we worked with there. So they start with the axis of symmetry right here, x equals 1. It's the x value. That's that line straight up and down. And then you plot that first point, then you plot, you create the little chart, you plot 1 point, and then you see that, hey, since that's one space from there, I can go one space there and have another point right there. Plot another point like right there. If that's 1, 2 away, then I go 1, 2 that way, and you have another point, voila. And you draw that parabola as best as you can. That's where it comes from. So let's do a couple here. On this page, you'll notice you have 3 questions, but only 2 graphs. What I'm going to do is on number 10, if we know that A is 1 and C is negative 3, we did that in the previous section. For the sake of time, we're not going to graph that one. Let's jump right to number 11, see if we can get that one graphed in this amount of time we have remaining. So we're going to do number 11 here. And what I think I'll do is just kind of divide up this page in 2. That would be good for you to do as well. And let's get to graphing things here. So to create the graph, the first thing you have to do is find the axis of symmetry. And the equation is y equal negative x squared minus 4x plus 1. All right, so to find the axis, we use x equals negative b over 2a. And in that particular question, a is negative 1, b is negative 4, and c is 1. Even though we don't need the c, I like you to identify it because you're going to need it later. So we plug it in here. Now watch something really weird here happen. Some of you have had some errors with negative signs. Here we have x equals, we have this negative sign right here, negative, and then we have this negative 4. So it's like negative, negative 4 over 2 times, and then you have this negative 1. So if we work this out, well, this negative and this negative, negative times negative actually makes it become positive. So that actually ends up being 4 over negative 2, which is negative 2. So that is the axis of symmetry. So before we go on, let's draw our axis of symmetry at x equals negative 2. So here's x is negative 2. So I want to put my dotted line along negative 2. So what you see happening now is we have equations that are not on the y-axis, which is what we had in the previous lesson. There. Okay, so that's my axis. So I know that my parabola goes somehow like that. Now what I do know, if I look back at the equation, and we talked about this in class a little bit, since that a value is negative, I do know that that parabola is going to go down because that coefficient on the x squared is negative. I just don't know exactly where that is. That's what we have to find next. So we found the axis. Using my red now, red ink, we will find the vertex for x equals negative 2. So we're going to take the negative 2 and we have to substitute it. And you've got to watch your signs really carefully here. You have a negative sign right here. Okay, so you have negative x squared, but then you also have negative 2 for this x right here because we're finding the point. We want to know what is y if x is negative 2. So we have negative, the opposite of negative 2, to the power of 2. So we're just recopying that equation with the negative 2 minus 4 times negative 2 plus 1. And we're going to solve this. Now, again, I'd rather that be a negative sign there so I can keep my sign straight here. Be really careful right here. That's negative 2 times negative 2. It's negative 2 squared, so that's a 4, but this negative sign is still there. So it's negative 4 plus this is positive 4, so negative times a negative. So that's 4 plus 1. So if I work that out, I come out to have, okay, something seems wrong here. Let me see. I think I saw my mistake. You probably found it too, didn't you? That's a 4 right there, and for some reason I wrote a 2. So let me change my numbers here. That's going to make a lot more sense. This was negative 4 here from that. I copied that wrong. Negative 4 times, that's positive 8 now. Okay, so it was negative 4 times negative 2. So now if I work this out, that actually comes out to equal 5. Negative 4 plus 8 plus 1 is 5. So that's my vertex. Y is equal to 5. X is negative 2. So the vertex is negative 2, 5. Apologies for that. If I confuse you too much, bring that to class. We'll look at it in class as well. But let's go ahead for the sake of time and get this plotted. So we've got negative 2, 5 as my vertex. That's correct. Negative 2, 5 is right here. I'll go in blue for the graphing since the axis is a different color. It'll show up better. So now what we have to do to go ahead and finish this graph is we have to pick some points like we did in class. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and work down my page a little bit. Hopefully you have room on your page. We're going to do a chart now. X there, Y is there. I like this chart better than the one we did in class previously. So the middle is going to be my equation, which is negative x squared minus 4x plus 1. And we are going to start with the vertex. And the vertex value that we just found was negative 2, 5. So let's put that in the middle of our chart. Okay, and we have it plotted. Now let's look at the graph here. All right, so I'm at this point, here's my symmetry line. I want to move over here and pick a point. I could pick negative 1. I could pick 0. Well, here's the deal. 0 is a really friendly value. So I want to go x equals 0 and see what value y is on that. So let's put x equals 0. Watch what happens here. Minus 0 minus 4 times 0 plus 1. That all zeroes out. It's 0, 1. That's a nice easy point, 0, 1. So let's plot it. 0, 1 is right there. Now, here's what I know. That is 2 spaces from the symmetry, from the axis of symmetry. So I'm going to go 2 spaces the other way. Put a point right there. And there we have one. All right, now I need to get one more point. Well, you know, another easy math would be to do x equals 1. So let's find out what is what the value of y is when x is 1. I did get this point right here, which is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, 1. So let's put that on here. It was negative 4, 1 we found there. Let's stick 1 in here and see what happens. If I stick 1 in there, you have the opposite of 1 squared minus 4 times 1 plus 1. Let's do the math here. 1 squared is 1. The opposite of 1 is negative 1 minus 4 plus 1. We worked that out, and that comes out to be negative 4. So we now have the ordered pair 1, negative 4. Okay, let's plot 1, negative 4. Here's 1, here's negative 4. Now notice how that's 1, 2, 3 spaces from the axis of symmetry. So let's go 3 the other way. 1, 2, 3, and you have it right there. And there is your parabola right there. And that last point that we have, we do need to label that point on our chart. Negative 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 4. Negative 5, negative 4 is the other point. Negative 5, negative 4. So here are the points I have graphed. and negative 4, 1. All right, and there you have it. All right, I'm going to come back for one more video, work through number 12 with you, and then we'll be done for the day.